Hello and welcome to the channel. In this video I'm working on Barney, the Barn Find 1981 Honda CT 110 Trail, working on his engine, removing the right hand engine cover, the clutch cover, checking the oil strainer and the centrifugal oil filter. I had trouble removing the screws from the end of the clutch, so you'll get to see what I did to overcome that problem and what I did to ensure I don't have the same trouble in the future. Now let's get straight into it. I've decided to remove the clutch cover to check the oil strainer and the centrifugal oil filter. Looking at the wear inside the engine on the other side, I'm not sure how much maintenance this engine's had, but looking at the gasket there, it's got a different colour gasket, a light green gasket, so maybe everything's good. I'll give it a tap. Let's have a look what surprises Barney's got. That's coming off easy. Every time I keep shooting the video recently, it's out of focus. So I hope this is not the case. I don't know why that is. So, it's not looking too bad. Very little wear on the clutch lever there. Pass pipe was in the right way, that's a good start. Let's hope these screws decide to come out. And I'll use the bigger hammer. Hope I don't swing and hit the camera. These are JIS bits. Doesn't seem to make much difference in these. No, need to pad it out with wood behind it. Hopefully the wood will stop the clutch compressing. No. Oh, I hate these screws. So as usual, I've managed to get one screw out, but I can't get this one. I've tried everything so far. Now I'm down to this. So I want to put a mark across, and hopefully then I can tap it round. Well, it was annoying, but finally got it to move. But that's another screw bites the dust. Slight bit of damage to the end cover there, the clutch end cover. That's to be expected. A little bit, not much. I think I got away with that pretty well. A really thin screwdriver. Maybe that will do it. It's going to damage it a little bit, but not much I can do about that. It's coming off. What will it be like inside here? What do you think? Let's have a look. What's wrong with it? Doesn't want to come off. Gasket's stuck. And a little bit in there to clean out. one thing I didn't mention when I did this video recently, don't get any dirt inside there. That's going inside your crankshaft and you'll bugger up your big end bearing. Well, I've given the engine a clean down, cleaned out inside there. Everything looks good. I haven't pulled out the strainer. I've never seen one. Oh, that was tight. It looks reasonably clean though, so all in all quite a good result on the clutch side. I wanted to replace the JIS screws. They're just a bane of a postie bike, a CT110 Mechanics Life. So what I did order, I ordered some Torx screws, bolts, because I thought they would be better, but the ones they sent were just that little bit too short. 5mm instead of 10mm. So what I'm going to use instead, countersunk hex heads. They should be fine. So I've cleaned out in there. One thing I did notice inside there, the tab washer, none of the tabs was bent over. So I've bent over a tab to stop the nut coming undone. And as I said before on this engine, I didn't think it had much maintenance, but this side had a green gasket on there, green gasket on there. So somebody's been in there obviously going to clutch in this bike at some time. So the new gasket, there's just grease on either side. And with my new countersunk screws, hopefully my big fat hand's not in the way. I've put just a dab of anti-seize on there, and as you know, that silver anti-seize, just a small amount, goes everywhere. You'll end up with it all over your clothes and your hands for whatever strange reason. So I'm hoping that the next time this has to be removed, these screws will be able to be undone simply and easily. These bolts, screws, set screws, countersunk screws, countersunk bolts, whatever you want to call them. I've put the clean oil strainer back in there behind the gasket. Yes, I'm reusing the old gasket. I've just put a thin smear of grease behind it. Grease works really well, and also when you remove the cover next time, the gaskets don't stick, makes it much easier. And also you don't get silicone gasket goo going into the oil galleries and with a chance of blocking the oil flow around your engine. One thing I'm going to fit for this engine is a magnetic drain plug. There's been a lot of metal flying around in this engine, so I think this is vital, especially for this engine. So we've got a new magnetic drain plug, and that should capture any metal. Obviously it won't capture the aluminium, but it will capture any steel particles. You've seen the assembly of this before, so make sure you've got the pass pipe in there with the spring in first. I'll put the clutch lever in place. That looks a little bit off, doesn't it? Well, if that's not going to stay in place, which that looks like it's not, I've got the engine leaned over slightly. I'll lean it over further. So I've leaned over the engine and a little bit more. I've got the spring there, and that hopefully will stay in place. No, still not going to stay in place. Oh, that's a bit precarious. And that's the engine leaned over even further. And that should stay in place. What I've done with the side cover, if you're going to change the oil seal, now is the time to change this oil seal. But on this cover, there's nothing wrong with it, wasn't leaking, the seal's not hard or brittle or cracked, that should be fine. I've put a little bit of oil on there to protect the oil seal. I've given it a good clean, and what I've also done, I put the case on a piece of glass with some fine grit wet and dry, I think 240 I use, just to dress up the gasket surface there, make it nice and flat so we don't have any oil leaks. I've put a light smear of grease on the case there. And on it goes. So I've tightened the screws, fitted the dipstick, I've adjusted the clutch, pretty simple. I do have a video about that if you're interested. And that's the right hand side complete. Family are growing bigger, Elvis, aren't they? Look at how big they are now. They're huge.